Hello, hello, welcome. So this is my 10th live stream ever. 10! Woo! So time to celebrate that, I guess. And tonight we're going to be giving away $100 to our 8th winner, 8 of 10 winners. In the 1,000 subs equals $1,000 giveaway contest to thank everyone and celebrate getting 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So that's what's going on tonight. Waiting for some folks to come in. Hey, Robert, welcome. Robert, 2 days in a row, Robert. Yeah, that's awesome. Rebel Car, welcome back. CL, welcome back. Wichita, welcome. Aquatic Jack, welcome. So I'm hoping, my goal today is to not confuse Camelinus with columnaris. That's my goal. Flynn, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. I private messaged you after the stream to do a mea culpa. Sorry, because you're probably going through this tough experience, right? Your fish are sick, and then I just start riffing on the wrong thing. I feel like an idiot. Sorry, dude. Anyway, that's my goal tonight. So, Carter Bing, hello, hello, welcome. Tilapia Store, yo, 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 back to ya. Christian Parnell, hello everyone. Welcome, Christian. Hangar's in the house. Welcome, welcome, Hangar. Glad we're all here. Trying something new today. I popped my chat out so I can make it big. So every time I read chat, I hopefully don't have to, like, you know, go squint at it like I'm wearing bifocals or something. So we'll see how that goes. Scouttown, welcome. All right, so I have some cool news. I had a new species spawn today, so I'll tell you about that in a minute after I announce the winner. Michael, welcome, Michael. Is it Cosator? Did I say that right? Cosator? Robert Flores. I think after all this raffle stuff is done, you should do a weekly live for a bit. Thanks, Robert. That's what I'm hoping to do. And what I'm thinking, and I'll announce for sure next week, but I think on Wednesdays is probably when that'll happen. And I would actually like to do it twice a week, just for 1 hour twice a week, instead of, say, 2 hours in one day. And the reason for that is because that'll help me with my content flow. So that way, instead of creating a video that day, I can do a live stream, which will save some time, because making a video and doing all the editing and the sound and voiceovers and all that, they can be kind of time, they can suck up a lot of time. So if I do a couple live streams a week, then the strategy is that I still put out more content, but it takes a little less time. Plus, I'm really enjoying this. I'm having fun. So hopefully everyone else is too. Susie Q O'Connor, welcome back. Thomas, sup Dan, they found the box. Thomas, would it be too late for me to call you tonight after the live stream just to check in? I saw that it made it to Tulsa. Last I saw, the box had made it to Tulsa. The good news is the other box that was lost made it to California today and was delivered, and all 11 of the fish were alive. So that's the good news. However, those were white cheek gobies, and white cheek gobies like cooler temperatures. So that's probably why they did okay. I've got my fingers crossed for your box. Oh, but man, it's a tough one. So let me know, Thomas, if it's in the chat, if it would be okay to give you a quick call after the live stream just to check in. Sure, I don't care. All right, I'll call you right after we're done then. Michael, you got it. Yeah. 54 Punchy. Hi, fishy internet peoples. Yes. All right. All right, Tilapia Store, 96-hour heat packs. Just kidding. Oh, yeah. You know what? Struck a little nerve there, Tilapia, because that's exactly what happened. I learned about those earlier this week from you. Thank you. And this is the week I needed them. However, the gentleman in California said that the heat packs were still warm when he got them. So the temperature in his box was in the 70s, even though they had been in transit that long. So I'm hopeful, but not optimistic. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to draw winner number 8. So we have 3 more drawings, including tonight. So winner number 8 coming right up. For those of you that don't know what's going on, I'm not going to repeat it. You can look back in the other live streams because I've said it every live stream and I think people are getting sick of hearing it. But there's a contest giving away $1,000 plus of free fish on dancefish.com. To learn about it, go to dancefish.com. On the home page, you'll see all the information you need. If any of that doesn't make sense or you have any questions, you can contact me through YouTube comments, through Facebook messages, or at dan@dansfish.com. So, all right, so let's do the drawing here. All right, here we go. Have it open, drawing a winner. Clicked it, it's processing. All right, so we have a winner. Let me scroll down and see. Nathan Horrell. Nathan Horrell from Riverside, California. Man, California's doing well in this contest. 1, 2, 3 from California. Well, of course, they have a ton of population. But Nathan, congratulations. You've won $100 from dansfish.com. And I will check after this live stream to make sure you have an account set up so I can actually apply that money to your account. And if not, I'll email you and we'll get that set up. But congratulations. Way to represent Riverside. Nathan Horrell. So when people ask in the future, help me remember that. Alrighty, so let's see here. Everyone's congrating Nathan. Thomas, it just builds suspense, the waiting for the fish. Does it ever? It's not the kind of suspense you want, though. Man, I'm sorry that your first experience purchasing from me as a new customer was a package lost in the mail. That's just a horrible way to start the relationship. But you've been awesome, so thanks for your patience and understanding, and I'll take care of you no matter what happens. Just know that. HC Aqua, hello. Hello. Doug, welcome. So here's my exciting news. So the first Corridors spawn of the year happened in the fish room. It wasn't big. These are little fish that I've raised up from under an inch. And so they're finally adult enough that they had their first spawn, so it wasn't a massive number of eggs. By the time I had picked out the infertile eggs, we were at about 15 or so that are amber instead of white. So I'm hopeful they're fertile. But it was, drumroll, albino Corridors Aeneas. So nothing life-shattering, nothing really difficult, but still really fun. Really fun fish to spawn. And I like to keep fish that are easy to spawn and fish that are difficult to spawn, because if you just keep difficult fish to spawn, then you might go a long time without getting any spawns, and that gets discouraging. So it's nice to have easy fish to spawn, because then you're constantly getting a spawn, and when the difficult fish spawn, it's like a bonus. So that's why I do that. All right, Thomas Perkins, it's actually my first time ordering fish, period. Oh no, I usually get them ordered through a shop. Let me just tell you, Thomas, usually the box isn't lost in the mail. Usually it gets there on time, and if it's delayed, it's a small delay. Your first time ever. Wow. Oh, lucky you. Man, I'm sorry. Now I feel all kinds of responsible. 54 Punchy, that's awesome. I love Corys. Yeah, it was cool. Thomas Perkins, bronze Corys paid for my hobby a few years ago. Yeah, they're easy, they're prolific, they're not shy at all. You know, they're a fun fish. Thanks, Thomas. 54 Punchy, I have some pygmy Corys in a very heavily planted tank, and I'm always seeing tiny little guys. The tank has so many plants that I have no idea how many I have now. Have you had them long enough that a few will actually grow up to adulthood, or do you see them occasionally but never see them, you know, grow and mature? Do they eventually get kind of picked off? But that's a great way to spawn Corys. If you just keep them in a heavily planted tank, they'll kind of do their thing, and it's easier that way. If you just squirt in some small live food occasionally, then you should be good to go. Yeah. I have no idea how many I have now. Okay, so that sounds like they are multiplying for you. Yeah, that's awesome. That is great. Will Corys not eat their own eggs? Yeah, sure they will, but if you have a ton of plants and stuff, they won't get to all of them. And you know, some are more prone to eating eggs than others. If you keep a ton of food in the tank all the time, they're less likely to. But I remove the eggs. That's what I do. And then I incubate them in a little container with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in the water to prevent fungus and bacteria, and just change the water frequently in that container. That's how I do it. Some people leave them in, especially if it's heavily planted, and enough will survive that the colony will build gradually. And some people take them out of the tank and then put them like on a slate next to an air bubbler, that kind of thing. Yeah. So anyone in here that's bred Cories, let's see here. Thomas, it sounds like you've bred a lot of Aeneas Cories. Anyone that's bred Cories, what's your method? How do you incubate the eggs? We know that 54 leaves them in the tank, and that's great, but I'm curious what other people do too. So maybe we can give Aqua Apprentice some advice from several of us and get some different perspectives on that. Doug's Fish Adventure. Your live streams are definitely getting me into killifish. Good. Good. I'll tell all my killie nerd friends and they'll like high-five me. You know, the thing about killifish people is that I've noticed is they just like them so much that anytime anyone else gets into them, they're so happy. It's like they spread the disease and they're happy they did it, you know? Yeah, so great. So Doug, let me know what kind of killifish you're thinking about, and if there's a specific one you like, then I might be able to give you some information on them. There are hundreds and hundreds of species. So a lot of people don't know this, but killifish are such a successful species. They're in the United States and Canada, and all down through Central and South America. They're in Africa. They're in Asia, at least through India and in parts of Asia. They're in the Middle East. They're in Europe. They're a tremendously versatile group. There are just so many different species and so many different kinds. And they've adapted. They're so adaptable. That's what makes them unique. So they've adapted, of course, to habitats that dry out completely. And then when the rain falls, the eggs that have been hiding in the soil hatch and you have a new generation. They've adapted to water that is more salty than seawater, like super saline, super toxic water. They've adapted to soft acidic pure water. Just any environment they find themselves in, they tend to find a way to adapt. And that's why there's so many varieties, and I could never get bored keeping them because there's so many varieties with so many unique habitats and needs and spawning strategies and all that they're just fantastic. So yeah, I love geeking out on those. Hangar, sweet, nice job with the Cories. Have you had a chance to video the little guys? I took a picture of the eggs on the glass before I removed them, and I posted that to my Facebook page briefly. But right now they're just little eggs, little clump of eggs in an incubation container. So not a whole lot to video yet. Thomas, I had a batch of pandas this year. Eggs were eaten. Yep. They definitely will. Was that in a heavily planted tank and none survived, or was that just up on the glass and they just went and chowed down? 54 Punchy, just shrimp and Kabodai rasboras. I wanted to say Kabutu rainbows for some reason. Just shrimp and rasboras with them. Rasboras don't bother baby shrimp at all, so I know they are not eating the babies. Oh, cool. Pygmy Cories carry the eggs and put them on the underside of leaves. Yeah, I haven't bred them myself, but I've heard they're more of a plant spawner. And they're one of the Cories that stays up off the bottom more than most. They'll cruise around in the middle of the water column quite frequently, especially if there's plants on the bottom, and they'll swim up above them and through them. Yep. Carter Bing leaves them in the tank. We're talking about Cories, different ways of dealing with Corydoras eggs. Thomas Perkins, I put a pane of plexiglass in the tank and remove it to a separate tank. So do you then incubate them like angelfish eggs? Do you do like the some air bubbles near them to keep the flow and methylene blue and things like that, or is it just a tank with water in it and no special flow or anything? Curious about that. Aqua Apprentice, so you hatch cory eggs similar to angel eggs. Well, okay, we're on the same wavelength there, Aqua Apprentice. Nick, just for fun, family, what's up, Dan? For breeding my cories, I use DIY yarn sponge mop, then into DIY tumbler. So far works great. Okay, so like a killifish spawning mop, and then you brood them in like a cichlid egg tumbler. Is that kind of the idea? When you put them in the tumbler, do you like separate them and stick them to different sides of the tumbler so they're not touching, or do you just put the whole mass in there? And also, does anyone else take out the infertile eggs? I do that because I'm scared to death that they'll infect the good eggs, but maybe I don't need to worry about it, and that would save me a lot of time if that's true. Doug's Fish Adventure, do all egg layers need egg tumbler? No, not at all. Most of the fish that I hatch, I don't use an egg tumbler. I found them very useful though if there's a species that you're trying to breed and the eggs are constantly fungusing on you, which is what we call it when they go white and stringy and bad. It's probably not a fungus, it's probably actually bacteria, but we call it fungusing. So if you have a species and you can't get them to stop fungusing, then an egg tumbler might do the trick for you. I found them very useful for like Lamprichthys tanganyicanus, the Tanganyican killifish. They have large eggs, they're fairly non-adhesive, and they love that current. Cichlids, of course, lots of fish that mouth brood you can do in that. The trick for me has been they have to be fairly large eggs, otherwise they'll get sucked up through the screen at the top of the tumbler or fall down in the screen on the bottom. So there's kind of a certain size that you have to deal with there. Although I have a little hack for that. Let me show it to you. I'll be right back. So here's a tumbler, right? And the screen on that is fairly big. It's that size. It's what's that yarn mesh stuff. So what I did is I cut a circle out of a green scrubby pad and I put it in there. And I did that because I had a male betta that wasn't holding the eggs, and so I put them in here just in the off chance that I could incubate them. It didn't work. The eggs weren't fertile or something. Maybe that's why he hadn't kept holding them, but that's a way you can deal with kind of small eggs. You could use a coffee filter too, things like that. But I found that the scrubby pad works pretty good because it's thick enough that it'll kind of stick in there and not want to float out. So, little hack in case someone's trying to put small eggs into an egg tumbler and the screen's too big. All right. So Doug, no, oftentimes you can incubate eggs just in a container of clean water. The trick for me, I've found, is to change it 2 to 3 times a day, so you're keeping the water really fresh. I use water that's been bubbling in a tank for a day or so, so the chlorine's bubbled out and it's kind of stabilized. And then I put, depending on the size of container, a few drops of hydrogen peroxide in it, and that kind of helps keep the fungus down. All right, just for fun, family, or Nick, also found putting pieces of PVC in the tank makes it a lot easier to remove the eggs. Oh, that's a good idea. 9 out of 10 times they lay eggs on the PVC. Strangely, only white PVC, not ABS so far. Huh, that's interesting. Well, that's a great idea. Then you can do kind of what Thomas does and just pull them out and incubate them somewhere else, right? Yeah, awesome. Because it is sometimes, it can be difficult to get them off the side of the aquarium, you know, and you're worried that you're gonna hurt them, right? Because they're pretty sticky. Yeah. All right, Thomas Perkins, that method works well for bronze cories. Okay, cool. The plexiglass kind of angelfish incubation style. Yeah. CL Roman, I have false Julii cories, so Corydoras trilineatus is that species, I would imagine, if we're talking about the same fish. Fry and eggs now. Awesome. I use a razor blade and remove them from the glass and put them in a fry keeper hang-on. That's great. So how old are the fry? Have they absorbed their egg sac? Are you feeding them yet, or are they still just wigglers at this point? Aquatic Jack. Good tip just for fun. Thanks. Yeah, I agree. Thomas Perkins up on the glass. So we're talking about that still. Let me get to... People are chatting among themselves. That goes for all my... this is Nick. That goes for all my emeralds, albinos, peppers, and lasers. So the PVC trick. That's how you do it. Which lasers are you doing? Are they orange or the green, or which variety do you have? 54 Punchy. I'm going to try and breed the drape fin barbs and Daisy's rice fish I'm getting from you. Great. The drape fins are awesome. Now there's a trick with them. I don't think you'll have this problem because I've already treated them, but when they come in, I've never had them come in without internal parasites. So I always treat them when they first come in, and they're going to be fine now for you. But if you don't do that, you'll see the females' bellies just kind of sink in. It happens to males too, but it's more noticeable in females. And so you're obviously not going to get eggs from that fish. So the first thing to do if you get drape fin barbs, in my opinion, is to treat them with metronidazole. That's always worked for me. To whatever parasite they bring in from the wild when they're caught, it's susceptible to metronidazole, to flagell. And so if you treat them with that, then they can gain the bulk they need to produce the eggs. Now, they are a continuous spawner, so you tend not to get large groups of eggs from them. And the hack for that is to just separate the sexes, and feed them very, very heavily for, say, a week. And the females will not get hugely fat, but they won't be spawning, so they'll retain their eggs. And then when you put them in with the males, or in the spawning container, whatever you're using, you'll get more eggs that way. Now the eggs are fairly large. For a barb, they're good-sized eggs, and they're a little bit adhesive. So if you put spawning mops in the spawning container, they'll go into the mop and stick them to the mop. So they're a little different than a lot of barbs, a little more selective of where they place the eggs, in my experience. But they're a fun fish. That's awesome. All right. In the Daisy's rice fish, those are simple. Just feed them, check the mop. You'll find eggs in short order. Yep. Tilapia store. I use them for mouth brooders. The tumblers. Is that tilapia? Do you strip all your fish when you're breeding them? Are the tumblers your go-to? Just curious how you do that, because I know you produce a lot of tilapia. So, Thomas Perkins, I use a sponge filter. Once they hatch out, they will eat infusoria and vinegar eels. Okay, cool. Do you use microworms as well, or do you stick with the vinegar eels? I'm just curious because the microworms, might sink and be easier for the fry to find, but they might be too big too. So I'm just curious what you do there. All right. Tilapia store, the cobalt tumblers work great. So Tilapia store has a video, if you haven't seen it, of the tumblers he uses. They're awesome. they're a pretty cool tumbler. So if you check out his channel, you'll see them in action, and it's a pretty impressive setup. Thomas, pandas seem to like mops. Has anyone else noticed this, or is it just mine? Good question. I haven't bred the panda, so panda cories. So if anyone else has, it's a good question. Doug's Fish Adventure, thanks. You're welcome to whoever you thanked, or from whoever you thanked. Wichita Falls Fish Keeper. Oh, yeah, all of us for chiming in, because you were asking about breeding the cories and the eggs and stuff. Yeah. Wichita, do you use any methylene blue during incubation? I used to, but I got so sick of staining my clothes and my hands and my table and everything. I haven't used it in a long time. I found hydrogen peroxide to be just as effective, and you know, easier to use. And I love that when it breaks down, the byproducts are water and oxygen. So I mean, hydrogen peroxide, when it's done reacting, becomes water and oxygen. So I feel very confident and comfortable using that. I now use that, I almost never use bleach anymore, in fact. It's almost always hydrogen peroxide when I'm disinfecting my nets and in tanks and mops, anything. So that's my go-to now. Yeah. All right. So if that buffered, I saw it buffering on my side. Hopefully it's okay on your side, but the answer, Wichita, is no, I just use hydrogen peroxide, in case you didn't hear that answer, because it looked like it was buffering. Although it tells me the stream health is great, so let me know if there's a buffering problem on your end, guys. But I think we're okay. All right, 54 Punchy, great. I have several empty cycle tanks that I can do that with the barbs. Yeah, wonderful, cool. CL Roman, yes, they are free swimming, hatched on January 6th, feeding hatched baby brine and crushed cory food, along with bug bites. Eggs are in a separate breeder box. Okay, cool, awesome. So they're free swimming, they're chowing down. Do you use hatched baby brine shrimp as the first food? Do you find that they have no problem tackling that? I'd be curious to know that. Tilapia, yes, I have it down. I strip when the fry are swimming. Oh, okay, so you wait till the fry are hatched and you see them come in and out, and then you strip them. Cool. Awesome. Thomas Perkins, once they get off that, they usually take micro pellets. Is that the Hikari micro pellets that you're talking about? Tilapia store, I use them when I pull the wrong female. Oh, I see. So that makes sense. So you've got this tank full of females, you see some babies in there, you go to catch a female, it's the wrong female, and you're like, oops, I got eggs, and then you have to tumble them. I see the scenario. At least I think I do. Let me know if I have that wrong, but that makes sense. That makes total sense. Wichita, good to know. I'll give it a try. All right. Aqua Apprentice stream is working fine over here. Good. Good to know. Thanks. Tilapia store, you got it. Okay, yeah. I can totally see how that would happen. This tank full of tilapia, and it'd be hard to grab the right one. They're quick suckers. All right, cool. Well, it looks like we have reached the bottom of the chat. We're at about the half-hour mark. So, you know, doing this like 10 days in a row, I run out of things to talk about a little bit. But if anyone has any questions or things they want to talk about, throw them down now and we'll keep going. And if it just kind of fizzles a little bit, then we'll call it good. And then I'll see you tomorrow, because I've got another winner to choose tomorrow. For those who want to know who came a little later, the winner tonight was Nathan Horrell. Nathan Horrell from Riverside, California, in case you were wondering. All right, a couple more things came in. CL Roman, they seem to eat baby brine shrimp right away. Good to know. I also have an old almond leaf in there too. Yeah, I do that too. A lot of my tanks have decomposing tree leaves in them, and the shrimp tanks and the Gramaris tanks and some of the other tanks. And so when I set up a fry container, I take out some of those leaves and put them in there too, along with a little Java moss or water sprite or something. And I don't know if it helps the fry that much. I like to think it does, that there's little microorganisms on there for them to eat at and biofilm and stuff. But what it does do for sure is it gives the snails and the shrimp that I keep in those containers with the little baby fry a food source, so that if they aren't getting enough leftovers from the fry, they can sustain themselves in that container while they're in there. So I find it really useful for that. Tilapia store, I'm working on color tagging system for that, yeah, to get the right cyst. Wichita, thanks Dan, good night. Thank you, Wichita, glad you were here. Aqua Apprentice, happy I found this channel. Some helpful info on here, great stream. Well, thanks, I'm glad it could be helpful. And I think all together, if someone has a question, we all chime in to help out, then among all of us, we're going to be able to solve a lot of problems. I feel bad I couldn't help Flynn more last night on his question with columnaris, but bacterial infections are so hard to identify that it makes them hard to treat. Yep. Susie O'Connor, thank you again for a great live stream. Thank you for coming and helping make it great. It wouldn't be that fun if it was just me here chatting to myself, right? That'd be crazy town. CL, they seem to clean all around on them. Yeah, on the leaves I think we're talking about. Yep. Thomas Perkins, LR Brett is about to start his stream. We finished just in time. Well, great. Go ahead and call me when everything is over. I'm just hanging out in the house. Okay, Thomas, I'll give you a call right now to check on how things are going for that shipment with you. And thanks, everybody. I'm going to call it quits, and I will see you back here tomorrow at 7 o'clock Mountain Time to announce winner number 9. There's only 2 more. All right, good night, everybody.